So for steps 3 to 5, they are like this. We have to locate the origin of each and every frame that we have drawn. So this is the base frame, and as it was told previously, the base frame I have to draw. So let me draw the x-axis of the base frame. So I'm drawing the x-axis to look like this, and let me name it as x naught. I can actually draw y naught here. I can draw y naught here, and I am going to use the right hand rule, but that is going to come in the next step. So let me leave it here, and let me draw the x-axis of the other one. So what is the rule? The rule here says that first we have to write the origin. So I have already selected the origin here. I have already selected the origin of the first base frame. So let me write it. So this is going to be my origin O naught. Now the second one is for this one, for the second frame, Z1 frame, I have to draw the origin. Now what does the rule say? The rule says that locate the origin where the common normal of Zi and the just previous Z I minus 1 intersect in Zi. So the origin has to be in Zi, and it will be where Zi and Zi minus 1 will intersect. Now they may not intersect, the common normal will intersect, or in this particular case we are having Zi and Zi minus 1 parallel. As you can see here, Z1 and Z0 both are parallel to each other. In a way they are collinear, but we'll call it parallel. So what is the common normal between them? There can be any number of common normal because they'll overlap one over each other. So what is the rule for that? The rule says that if Zi and Zi minus 1 is parallel, then select any point which is convenient and extend the previous common normal. So there is no previous common normal here. There is no previous common normal here because the previous frame itself was the base frame. There is another condition written here that if Zi and Zi minus 1 intersect, then at that point we have to draw the origin. But here we are not having this particular case, we are having the case that they are parallel. So what I am going to do is, I am having Zi and Z1 and Z0 which are parallel to each other. So I can draw anywhere the origin. Let me draw the origin as this point. So O1. And I am going to draw the x-axis now, and the x-axis is from the origin. I will draw it in such a way that it is parallel to x0. Now, should I have drawn it parallel to x0? I could have drawn in some other way convenient, but this is the most convenient because now already the two x frames, the two x-axis of the two consecutive frames are now in parallel, and that is something that is highly desirable. If you remember, the angle theta itself was for making the two frames have the x-axis parallel to each other. We have already drawn it so that it is parallel to each other. So this is the x-axis of the Z1 or O1 origin frame. The third one, that means for the origin of Z2, again we have to first find the origin, and the origin is where these two axes, that is Z2 and the previous axis Z1 intersect. And here we can find out that yes, they do intersect at this point. If I am going to elongate Z1, it will extend and it will intersect here. So this point I will write it as, let me write it here, or let me write it here, O2. That is the origin of the Z2 frame. And let me draw the x-axis. Now the x-axis is going to be, if you look at the rules say that if Zi minus 1 is parallel, then select any point convenient, that is extend the previous common normal. There is no previous common normal because all the previous common normal is based on the previous axis. So here I am going to draw it in the same direction as the previous axis. So let me draw it. Let me draw the axis. So here again I have drawn the axis such that now you can see it is common normal to Z1, Z2. That is what is written in the rule. Okay, that if it is X intersecting, then at that point mark this as OI, and through OI draw XI. If the common normal is 0, which is our this particular case, here the common normal is 0 between Z1 and Z2. The reason being that both Z1 and Z2 are 90 degrees to each other, so OI is where they intersect. And then as it is written here, then draw it normal to the Zi minus 1 plane. So here, which is the plane they are talking about? They are talking about the Z2 Z1 plane, and I have to draw it normal. So that is what I have drawn it normal. I will name it as X2. Now similarly, Z2 and Z3, they are collinear, or they are parallel to each other, so I can draw it anywhere. For the sake of convenience, I am going to draw it from here. I will draw it parallel to X2 itself. I will draw it parallel to X2 itself. So this becomes my X3 frame. Not frame, X3 axis. Now based on this I can draw the Y axis. Always remember, here it is written in the rule that draw YI based on the right hand frame rule by looking at ZI and XI already drawn. So what is the XI rule? The rule says that suppose if you are having, you should always take it as if you are having X, if you are having Y, then you can find out Z by going in anti-clockwise direction. That is what they say. So X, Y will give me Z, Z, X will give me Y, like that. So always it should follow this particular rule that after X, Y, after Y, Z, and for that always it should go in that way. So suppose if my X is here, then going anti-clockwise my Y should be here, and again going anti-clockwise my Z should be here. So I should not go the other way around, I should always go anti-clockwise. So based on that I will draw the Y axis for each case. So X, the Y axis obviously will come here, the Y axis will come here. So let me draw that. So that is going to be my Y naught axis. Similarly, let me draw the other Y axis, or the other axis of Y that I have to draw for the second frame. So this is going to be my Y1. Similarly, X, Y here will come down. So let me first do one thing. Let me select this and reduce the size of this one so that I'm able to draw the Y axis of the above case. So yeah, so here X and Z is in this direction, so following by the right hand rule, the Y axis will point down. So let me write this as the Y2 axis, and this one was Y1 axis. The last is of the tool tip, or the tip of this Z3 frame. So X, Y will obviously come down. So I have drawn the Y3 plane, the Y3 axis. So these are the axes that are already drawn, and let me just mark for convenience. Theta1 is the moment of this joint. This joint is going to have a moment of, let's say, D, which, let me number it because it's for the second joint. I will number it as D2. Similarly, here I am having a movement which is again a linear movement, which I will name it as D, and since the joint is the third joint, so I will name it as D3. So these are my axes, and these are the steps from 3 to 5, and this we have to do for each and every frame. Now what do we see here? We see that we have a base frame x0, y0, z0. We have a x1, z1, y1 frame, an x2, z2, y2 frame, and x3, y3, z3 frame. So we are having the frames completed. So that is up to step 5.